Most gracious and heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day you've given us, God. God, we thank you for the blessing of living in the greatest country on the face of the earth, Lord. God, we ask that you be with our leaders on all levels of government, God. God, be with this court as we go through the day's business. Help us make decisions that are pleasing to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll go ahead and call Marshall County Fiscal Court to order October 4th, 2022. First on the agenda is Chad McCann. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Here today to give you guys an update and to present the Harden Water Project bids for the Hunter Road and Walnut Grove area water project extensions through there. At the approval of the court, we solicited bids for materials on that project and opened bids on those last week. Actually sent out 4 bid packages to material suppliers in this region, and unfortunately or fortunately just got 1 bid back from GNC Supply Company out of Tennessee. Very good company, and a lot of our clients work with them. A lot of them work with them for the fact that they provide good materials and also are the low bidder on a lot of projects. So from that standpoint, it's a good thing. The total bid received from GNC Supply Company was $134,472.40 for the water main materials for that project. Again, it's approximately 2 miles worth of water line through there. That includes the hydrants and valves, some service line work, and service materials as well included in there.
How'd that fit into your specs?
It does fit well. I think our estimate changed by about maybe $10,000, but it's still under the $1.1 million that we originally estimated for those water line extensions in that area.
All right.
Our next step in the process, moving forward, as soon as we get the Division of Water approval, then we'll put out bids for the installation portion of that project. And at that time, then we'll have a good handle. We'll have the total cost there in hand for the materials and installation of those projects. And then that'll help us moving forward, kind of looking ahead with the Oak Level projects to formalize that scope of work, look at our budgets a little bit tighter, and take the estimates that we've prepared over the last couple of years for Oak Level, update those based on these newer material and installation numbers that we receive, and then we can get a tight number there for those projections.
Have we not previously had bids with materials and labor combined?
Typically we do, yes, sir.
Why is this different?
This is different as much as anything due to the material availability right now. Even with these bids and bidding them early, they're telling us it's probably going to be 6 months until we can get all the materials in here into Hardin to build those water projects. So by bidding the materials early, you can save on taxes, and then you can also save on time component in the process. If we waited until we get the Division of Water approval and then go through the installation procurement, that's going to extend the timeline out about 2 to 3 months is a typical estimate for that. So we're trying to hedge that a little bit and get these materials in here sooner, beat some of the price increases that we're continually seeing in the market for all the steel and copper items. Anything steel related is not going the direction we want it to go, seems like lately. So trying to hedge a little bit against that, and that's why we're splitting them up. Should be a double benefit, really, for the folks in Hardin and for the court as well, from a dollar standpoint. From this point on, if the court did decide to accept this bid, basically go through a purchase order agreement then with GNC Supply Company to get the materials ordered. The way the contract is written right now, as per the bid, they're holding their bids for 30 days, and then after that time, then they would have the ability, if they wanted to possibly change those numbers if their material prices increased on them.
Move we approve, take from the ARPA funds, obviously.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
While I'm here, just some more updates. We're continuing to get our surveys done on oak level projects. We are hamstrung a little bit by the AT&T locates. We're just in a process of every week or twice a week calling the locators, trying to get them motivated to go out there. Sometimes they're a little more focused on construction tickets than they are design tickets, but that does help us with our design process quite a bit to get those located ahead of time, so we don't have to do any redesigns based on an unknown telephone line. But we're working through those, and everything's moving forward at a pretty good clip right now. Don't have any other real updates to add, from a property owner perspective on those projects, but everything still remains positive on those lines. Any questions regarding any of the water work? Or we finished up the sewer work over there at Southwest 1 last time I was here talking with y'all, so that line work has been tested. It's all in service now, so as far as that scope of work, it's pretty well completed on that end.
All right. Anything else? All right. Appreciate you, Chad.
Thank y'all very much.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Chad.
See if I can't get Laurel on the phone. We'll put her on the speakers. Hey, I'm going to put you on speaker. All right. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
I know you're still out in eastern Kentucky. All right, we're going on item B on the agenda. Laurel Matula for tornado shelter engineering bids. So go ahead, Laurel.
Okay, so we had to re-procure. This is our second procurement cycle for engineering bids because on the last cycle, we only got one response. So I think, Judge, correct me if I'm wrong, we got more responses this time. And now we need to form a selection committee to select the engineer to do the work on the hazard mitigation community shelter at the community tornado shelter, safe room at the Miracle League.
Okay.
So, Judge, I think that would be a committee of 3 or more to go through the engineer responses to select the engineer to conduct, to do the engineering design work for the Miracle League shelter, which will also serve as restrooms and concession stand.
Okay.
So is this approved, Laurel? Do we have 100% approval from FEMA on this?
Yes, this cycle is a very long cycle. It may be 3 to 4 years before we're finished. However, we have the award letter from the state. We did that based on an initial estimate. And so our next step is to do an official design and submit that to FEMA. We've done our initial assessment. We've done our benefit cost assessment. We've done our floodplain maps. We're just ready to go on to the design. And then our next step will be FEMA Environmental and Historic Preservation Review. That step will take a long time. But after that step, they will give us permission to start construction.
Did the other locations get approved too?
So the other locations, meaning the 2 schools?
Yeah.
Or the?
Yeah.
Yes. However, those are not county projects. The county, I just did the initial submission for them as a service to the county, but they are their own applicants.
What is their next step, Laurel?
I'm not their grant managers, So they would have to contact the state, but they would follow the same step. I mean, I don't know where each of them are in the process, but they would fill out a benefit cost analysis, submit that to the state, and submit any other forms the state is requesting for them. But I couldn't tell you where each of those schools are in the process because I'm not their grant manager. I'm not assisting them. All I did was the initial quick submission form for them.
And to maybe explain a little bit further, these SAFE funds are available not just for county governments.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. First, the school was selected. West Marshall Volunteer Fire Department was selected. I'm sorry. The public school was selected. 2 private schools were selected. The county Miracle League was selected, and then West Marshall Volunteer Fire Department was selected, all within the county. But the county's responsibility is only the county infrastructure, which is the Miracle League. West Marshall Fire Department will be responsible for all of their paperwork, their local share. The public school will be responsible for all of their paperwork. Now, ER Assist is helping. West Marshall Fire Department has hired us to help them, and the school has hired us to help them. The school, the public school, has selected their engineer already, and they're moving on to the design phase. And West Marshall will probably select the same engineer that you select because they're allowed to use the procurement that you select, just depending on. But they're waiting to see who you select before they go out for procurement on their own.
And Laurel, just to be clear, or maybe to explain a little bit further if needed, the selection committee for the engineering design, is it typical that they review the bids?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So instead of, it's a smaller committee, then we have some scoring. It's kind of like what we did on the debris procurement. You review the proposals and you make a selection based on what the selection committee deems is an appropriate fit based on the proposal to the project, and also you can look at some line items of cost to determine who you might. But you can't really the hourly rates maybe don't factor in a whole lot because one firm may have a $200 an hour for a certain position. Another firm may have $100 an hour, but one may have more knowledge or work at a faster pace that you're familiar with. So really it ends up being the same. So really you just have to make a selection based on who you think will do the best work on that structure.
Okay.
And the county's not making a decision for any other structure, only this is meant to be used for the county's Miracle League, tornado shelter, community shelter, which also will end up being concession stand and restrooms.
Correct. And there's no time, preferably, to get this.
We're under no specific time. It's just the longer we take doing this, the longer. I shouldn't say that. Probably in the next 3 months, we need to make a decision and move on. But any delay in time now just delays the process further. But we don't have a specific deadline to select our engineer. It's just, it will just delay the ultimate funding of it.
Okay.
So within the last committee that we did, am I wrong that we were all in that scoring? Well, you remember when we scored the only time I remember us doing this was when we scored the cleanup bid. But I know I was in there, but who else? Do you remember who was in that committee?
I think what might make sense is to have one magistrate, maybe someone from the Parks Department, since they're kind of the subject matter expert on this particular one. And then a third person, whoever that might be. I always think 3 is a good number for a selection committee. I don't think any more than 5. It does not have to, I'm sorry, I called you a magistrate. I know you're a commissioner.
We'll let you go.
It doesn't need to be the members of the fiscal court, but usually it makes sense to have at least one member.
Okay. Maybe I was.
Laurel, I've got one more question. I'm looking at a response to New Covenant Christian Academy, and it indicates they were to be contacted by HMGP grants manager within the next week to assist with the BCA process. This was back in May. They still have not been contacted. Do you have any suggestions on that?
So that would be, yes, I have a point of contact at the state. I don't have that in front of me. I think it is too many Britneys. It may be a Brittany, but let me pull that up.
You can just text that to me if that's okay.
It's a Megan at the state, and her name is. Megan Molahan, and her phone number is 859-562-0984.
Thank you.
And I don't know who's talking, but I can email that to you.
It's Kevin Spraggs.
Okay, got it. Judge, any other questions or a selection committee? And I can help that selection committee score or be in the room if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at this point, we just identify, we can either identify the committee or we can identify that a committee to be formed and come back at next board meeting. It don't matter to me.
Yeah.
Whatever the wishes of the court is. I do agree that, Brittany from the Parks and the Commissioner, third party, if we're going to go with 3 members, along with you, Laurel, to help score.
Okay.
Nominate
Yeah,
Squire Collins.
just let me know a date and I'll be there.
Okay. Well,
Second that.
at this point, it looks like it'll be Brittany and Commissioner Collins.
Yep.
He's getting outvoted.
This is how I'm now the president of
Okay.
the Board of Realtors,
Okay,
too.
very
That's the
good.
way that
We'll
this.
come back with next court meeting to identify that, and we'll schedule a date, let you know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel.
Bye.
So really, we just need to identify who that third party is going to be. If you guys got any comments on that, let's just by next court meeting, have that third party identified so we can form the committee and move forward on these bids. All right. There's no correspondence, old business. Approved the minutes, September 20th meeting, September 20th public hearing, and September 23rd special call meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. New business item A, 2022 CAECO Insurance Grant Program. Should have gotten the information. This is the application period is September 15th to October 17th. I'll just read this. The Kentucky Association of Counties is proud to once again offer an opportunity to members of our Workers' Compensation Fund and All-Line Fund to apply for grants to help reduce losses in connection with these two insurance funds. We are eligible. The process for the application is grant submissions will be accepted through our online form for CAECO's website under Loss Control Services. Applicants will receive an email confirmation that their application has been received. So the open time frame is September 15th, October 17th. Priority areas, all applications will be considered. However, loss and/or prevention areas that will be given priority during this year's selection process include those designated to help reduce or eliminate losses connected to slip, trip, or fall hazards, lifting injuries, auto accidents, jail operations, and cyber breaches. Grant amounts, grants are limited to a maximum reimbursement $10,000. Members will be required to contribute an additional 20% to any grant awarded.
I move that we allow, would your office apply for that?
Hey, Brad.
The Judge Executive's office to apply for the 2022 CAECO insurance grant.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, Walton Lane. We had the public hearings on Walton Lane. The request was to take the section of Walton Lane, as discussed in the public hearing, out of the county maintenance program. I know Mr. Anderson, Brad Anderson, had sent a letter to my office asking if we would pull that request off the table. I feel that it is a county road, and we should still discuss our asset as far as the court's intent with Walton Lane. Since we did, how much did we spend in advertising? We went through an advertising cost to advertise the public hearing, and I understand his request, but it's our asset as the county, so it's on the agenda for any discussion.
Well, in my opinion, if he's taking the request, the way I understand it, we didn't have the other party, other owner of the property adjacent involved in the petition, right? He did sign the petition? Okay.
I think if anything, we need to discuss the fact that it is a county asset. We did hear, we didn't hear much in the public hearing, but as far as Walton Lane, that section of the road, what the intent of this court is.
What y'all looking at me for? In my opinion, that particular road, that piece of that road, we have the recommendation from the road superintendent to remove it. know, yes, do you have to look at the past? Sure. But I think in any of these road situations, the future is as important, if not more important, to me. And, you know, we have that recommendation. We would not have to maintain, it's gravel. It's not even, it's not paved. So in my opinion, we should take the road superintendent's recommendation and allow it if we're going to vote on it today.
And that's the gravel portion.
Yes.
Was it the address 772? And that address, was that Mr. Johnson's? And that address is on the paved portion? Yeah. So we've got a paved portion and then a gravel portion.
Well, if the petition is wrong, then,
Well,
I mean,
the petition is right. It
petition-
states 772, which is Mr. Johnson's address. The gravel portion is still a county road. It's just gravel. So the petition from 772, Mr. Johnson's address, which is paved all the way back to the portion which is gravel, and I forget how much portion of it is gravel. That entire section is the county road.
well, if
So
I don't remember us discussing that before, but I did not realize that.
772.
Well, I know that we discussed that, but I thought we were all the time talking about that it was just the gravel piece. So Mr. Johnson was not on the petition, correct?
No, it's just his residence was a reference point to the beginning point of the county road is at that address.
Would we need to measure exactly what we need to take, instead of going by address? Because there is a turnaround there, and we want to make sure that turnaround stays in the county.
Yeah. We put that turnaround in 2 years ago, a year ago.
No, it's
been-
probably been 3 years ago.
Yeah. So that the road department can actually do a turnabout and turn around and go back out. It's my understanding that's the location. When we say 772, we're not saying that Mr. Johnson's driveway, if you go out there and you look, you got Mr. Johnson's driveway, and then you got the turnaround, or the turnabout location. Obviously, 772, you would be restricting Mr. Johnson. If you go any further back towards 641, you'd be restricting him from his access to his
All
property.
right, then
But if it's
that
just
was a motion,
the-
I rescind it. I don't want to,
But if it's just the gravel portion, which is the recommendation, the way I understood it, the gravel portion to be taken out of the county maintenance program.
yeah, I was not doing it based on the address. I mean, my thought only was what we were talking, and the recommendation was the gravel piece of that.
It'd actually be 620 feet. That's what we would be, what's gravel.
Jason, I have a question on this. Do we need to be voting on this if it's been withdrawn?
Well, the petition, I just asked Anita, I don't think the petition specified requested to remove.
Right. If you read the petition was from 772.
Okay.
And it includes, the way I read it, the entire section from 772. If there is a portion of that, which is gravel, that wants to be taken out, then that's obviously, we heard from the road review, there'd be savings to the county. But if it's the asphalt that we just put down, that's
Yeah.
something totally different,
Well,
in my opinion.
so I guess all that I did there at least was have the discussion once, if they decide to do this again with a correct petition, you know, but I mean, this particular petition, if that's the case, I mean, I don't see how we can vote on it if it's incorrect.
Well, I don't think it's incorrect. The petition states what it states.
Well,
But if,
all right. So,
if
yeah.
we, as a court, feel that there'd be a savings to the county to take that section that is gravel out of the county maintenance program.
Outside of this petition.
We can absolutely do that.
Well, then I'll make that motion. That, okay.
In your motion, if you will, make sure that we have Roy, I know you did measure it, the gravel portion. Okay. So he does have the gravel portion measurement.
20 feet.
So I move that we remove the section of Walton Road, at the end of Walton Road, that is 620 feet of gravel out of the county road maintenance program.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I will update our roads with Roy through the pad. Okay. Item C is Crooked Oak Loop. And Crooked Oak Loop, we had a public hearing on. And that is to take the paved portion of Crooked Oak Loop and bring that into the county maintenance program. I see some folks are here today from Crooked Oak Loop. Have a motion to get into the discussion. Is there a motion? Is there a motion to for Crooked Oak Loop?
I move we approve. I mean, I've told the folks, I know Roy and I've disagreed on it, and these folks been dealing with this for 20 years. It seems like every time they come up here, the bar just keeps getting moved. I think there's questions on what the specs were in 2002, 2003, or however long it was. I mean, the purpose of government, especially county government, is to make lives easier for the folks that pay the taxes. And I mean, if we're not going to do that, what the hell's the use of us even being up here? So, I mean, I'm fine with taking it in the county road system, building it up the way it needs to be.
So there's a motion to take Crooked Oak Loop into the road maintenance program. Is there a second? I'll second it so we can further discussion. Is there any discussion other than what we've heard from Commissioner Lamb?
I've got a question from Roy, for Roy, sorry. Are you aware of any evidence the road ever met county specs under the definition of either new or existing road?
So I understand what you're saying there, but I think when we have a situation, again, where the superintendent is saying it does not meet either current, obviously we know that, or the specs. At the time, we've talked many times in this courtroom about precedent and over and over. Sometimes we go against precedent. Sometimes we go with precedent. But as it relates to so many of these same folks out there that have roads like this, that have maybe not petitioned us, but started that process, and we go out there, we send the road department to say, okay, tell us, and that committee, tell us your thoughts on that. And I'm not aware that we've gone against that. For the most part, those don't even get to the petition standpoint because they are told it does not meet these guidelines. And we went through that process, obviously, last year, the year before last, to put this in place, I think for these very reasons, so that we've got something to go by. And so I hate to see us go off that. And then, because it's not fair to me, to those who have done it the way that we put in that road agreement too. They've gone out there and they've spent that money to do it that exact way, and then to then turn around and go against our own superintendent, I feel like would be putting the county in a bad future spot.
I understand everything I've heard from both you and Commissioner Lamb. Unfortunately, I'm in a position where in this county we are where we are. We can put the documents, we can agree to this is a standard of operation that we want to start. Unfortunately for us, we weren't present all those years prior to.
Yeah.
And I don't think that we can absolutely put a governing document in place that is going to have a start date today that is going to solve all the problems that come before us. The initiative of the court is to say we've got to start somewhere. So when we put that document on the table and we agreed to say this is a standard that we as a county, as a community, we're going to follow. However, there is an asterisk in my opinion because there are folks that obviously have lived in this community and there's more. There is no, Gary and his neighbors are not going to be the last folks to come before this fiscal court.
No doubt.
And to not, hear from, we've got several subdivisions, private roads. None of those have been petitioned and brought before us. We're aware of them, but none of them have been brought before us. And this is something that we're going to have to deal with, and even future government in this county is going to have to deal with. In this situation, we do have taxpayers that live on this road that have come before us that want to bring the road into the county maintenance program. And if you look at majority, if not all, of the documents, the resolutions, there is always language that the fiscal court can make decisions outside of that resolution document. There is, in the past 7 years, sitting down and trying to figure out how do we manage this. Not to say how did we end up in this position, but how do we manage this? And there's no clear-cut way to manage it other than to look at it from an individual request, and that's what we have in front of us today. We do have folks that live on a road. Does it have challenges? Absolutely. But they paid their taxes, and they are asking us to bring this road into the county maintenance program. The cost, you have the cost as far as roughly what it would cost to bring into the county maintenance program.
Pave it like it is, or pave it the 20-foot wide?
Do you have both?
I do.
Yeah. What is it to pave it as it is?
This is material only. To pave it just like it is and change the culverts out and build a cul-de-sac at the bottom, at the end of it, is approximately $55,600. That's at the paving price currently.
And to put it at the standards that's in our resolution.
And this is material only, is approximately $124,000.
You have labor cost on that too, Roy?
I do not have labor costs. I didn't go into that because if y'all decide to take it in, I didn't know if they are gonna have to hire somebody to bring it up to our specs, or we're gonna do it. So I didn't go into that.
Now, I'm going to go a little bit further into when we start talking dollars. I just sat through my association's conference, and we had a representative from the transportation cabinet. We're all aware of the 32 cents being reduced to 26 cents and how that has affected the funds that the counties get. It doesn't look like it's going to be much better moving forward. So really, all the counties, majority of the counties across the state are dealing with these same issues. How do we fund the current roads that we have, and how do we fund requests of roads coming in the county maintenance program? We've discussed this in our budget workshops. Our subsidies, we're subsidizing so much, and we really need to look at our subsidies. To me, there's dollars there that we could allocate to. We used to put in well over $700,000 annually for paving. I think we're at 675, somewhere around there. So not only did the state, with the gas tax, did that reduce some of the monies that we get from the state, but as we look at the monies that are available within our own budget, we're lower than what we have been for years prior. But when you look at the subsidies are key, and we were on track in tackling those subsidies, and we got distracted, to say the least. But I'm still, as a taxpayer, as we heard from Gary and some of his neighbors talking in front of us, as they have paid their taxes to the county, either it be property taxes or whichever taxes they pay. We use the occupational tax exclusively. I mean, that is the monies that we have. And that amount of monies that we get is where all of our subsidies come from. So when I look at this, yes, we have a resolution, and, Roy is going to look at it as far as whatever directives given to him. But when we start looking at the costs, these dollars don't compare to the subsidies that we give out. And it's not, you can take 3 subsidies that take up majority of the monies. And we can. I'm 100% convinced that we can manage those subsidies to where when we have requests like this that come into the county or are existing the way we do it with the Class 1 roads within our jurisdictions to manage those roads, we have monies that we can put towards these types of requests. It's not something that we have to do all of them in one fiscal year. We can plan ahead. In this case, we know our Class 1 roads, which we've got quite a few, but when we have requests that come through to us, that we can plan as well those requests. Some of the neighborhoods that you've mentioned, if they were to come before the court, it can be managed. So when I look at a situation like this, and I've been out there, I've been out to the road. I think you guys commented 56,000, 55,000 is what the folks put into it. Our roads are important. You go to some of our other counties, they got the same issues. Some of their roads are bad. You drive through other counties, you drive through subdivisions or neighborhoods, you see a lot of blue signs, which blue signs are private roads. And you can see the maintenance or the lack of maintenance. We're very blessed to have good roads within our community. And I think we've had a discussion. We've got some neighborhoods that there's property for sale, but they're not going to sell because the roads aren't developed. That's hurting us and growing our community. So when I see this, I think that outside that resolution, we do have a way to fund these types of requests. Is it expensive? Everything is expensive today. When I sit and see that and this is our subsidy, and we've discussed this, when we're taking in inmates, for an example, from other communities who have other taxing districts, people that pay their taxes in other communities, and we're covering the cost as a taxpayer, that to me has got to change. That's monies that are coming out of our pockets as taxpayers that's going to fund something that taxpayers from other communities need to be paying their expenses. That's just my opinion on it. That's just a simple example of why I don't feel threatened or concerned when we say $124,000. That's a lot of money. But when you look at those subsidies, that's a lot of monies. And so we've got to get that under control as well. The resolution, that is something that we've agreed to go off of, but there is language in there to where the court, when a case like this comes before us, we can make decisions outside of that resolution. And I think the nature of our county and our road system, you can't put a document on the table to say this is the way it's going to be, and we're not going to adjust moving forward. I don't think we're in a position to do that. That's just my 2 cents on it. I think we do have folks in front of us that are wanting to have better access, for their neighbors and obviously we know about the bus stop, which I think right now it's working, but the bus won't come down, so the folks have to drive up to the bus location. So personally, I feel like there is an opportunity here to take this road into the county maintenance program and set an example moving forward. That's my opinion.
Well, I think if we're going to look at doing something like that, then I'm not aware that we've done anything like this. I know we haven't since I've been on the court, but I don't know if we have since you've been on the court. But if we're going to look at something like that, going against, or not against, but taking the discretion portion of that, then I'm all for looking at, what roads would fit into that we need to address. And I think we're going to. If we were to approve this, I just had a discussion last week with some folks out on Palmer Drive going out, cross, all that. I mean, that's a huge, that's a long, that's going to be a large project. But to me, I don't know the difference in that one and this one.
Yeah.
It wasn't built to specs either at the time it was built.
And there's going to be several. I think the difference is that once they come to, obviously there's a process for them to come to the court and request that we should have, once that happens, and it will, there'll be several that will come, looking at Crooked Oak Loop this way. There'll be other requests coming to the fiscal court. But I think that we should, embrace that and have a plan on how are we going to fund it, because that's what it ultimately is going to come down to, and then set a plan to fund that. I don't want to see us get in a situation where, we're still in that box, because that, if you look at the negative side of that, take a look at Crooked Oak Loop this way. You have people in you're a realtor, you're out there, you see the assets that we have. As people come into the community, it's not going to grow. It's not going to develop if they look at that road and they find that it's a private road. So there's both sides of this that really, as our community, if we just sit and not have a plan to tackle these issues, it's only going to get worse.
And I love to have a plan. I love to, I think y'all know what's the laughing, how analytical I am to a T, sometimes too much. And I'm okay with us doing that if that's what we're gonna agree to do, is to look at all those roads out there. But I think we need to, if we're gonna do that, I think we need to do that, because if we do this, in my opinion, you're right, so others will come. How do we say no to a $400,000 project that is like this?
Yeah, and I don't think we go out and, our process that we've laid out for the folks, we didn't go out and ask Gary to come to us or Walton Lane. The individual residents have to go, and I think Gary testified that, or stated that he went door to door and talked to residents. So there is effort at the residential level. Those folks are going to have to go through the process. On our side, obviously we know it's a budget. It's a financial impact that we have to plan for. So I don't want to advocate, the court doing the work to go out, because there may be people out there, and there are people out there, they don't want their road to be a county road. So we handle those petitions as they come to us as a court. But when we cite, material only, just like what we just did today, and if we did it by the resolution, obviously there's a difference, 55,000 to 124,000. My point is that, the thing that we can control is how we manage our subsidies. And we can manage For an example, if, using your example, if a $400,000 road comes to us, the citizens need to be aware that, we just don't have a pot of monies laying around, but we can manage, and I do believe that that can be managed. It's here. It's in our lap. The resolution is a guide moving forward, but when we have these types of requests, I think that we should, look further into it. And I think that this can be funded, but we have to get our subsidies under control.
So I don't disagree that we need to look into it. I do not disagree with that point. Where we disagree is doing this project and then agreeing to, figure out what comes next based on whether they're going to come in or not. That's my opinion. And I understand it's not an easy. I don't like that, but I also didn't like having those discussions outside of court with those folks either. It was not. I don't like to say. I'm sorry, because listen, there are people, and I don't know about Gary or the folks that came in or not, that have purchased homes down a road like this that didn't realize that it wasn't a public road. And I feel, that stinks, but I don't know that we have a way other than the color of those signs to do anything about that. Someone talked to me last week about it should be in the deed. Maybe it should be. And mine was, whenever I bought mine, I think it said in there that it was not a county road.
Let me
I think that's KRS.
I'm not going to put you on. I am going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
You're a realtor, so when you're selling a property, do you tell the potential owner or the person that's going to buy, is it a county road or a private road?
You should.
I know. I'm saying, do our realtors in this community say that is a private road?
Yeah. So I can't answer for others, but maybe I'm. Because I'm in tune with it,
Yeah.
And it probably should be something, but you got to understand, not every home that is sold here is sold by a realtor.
Sure.
But those that are, should it be? Yes. And here's the other piece to that. We have within our MLS system, what is that road type? So is it paved? Is it, how is it owned? And so it should be in, when you get that packet, before you go look at the house, you should know by being able to look at it. Now, it's only as good as that person who put it in.
Sure.
No doubt.
Sure.
But, and listen, if it's possible that there could be statute to require that it be in there, I just don't know that that's ever anything that's going to be done, because think about it, it could change. It could be a private road when it was sold, and the legal description of the deed then could be incorrect whenever it's taken in. So.
Well, and I think in this situation.
But all of our counties, as you know, I'm not telling you anything different.
I know.
We're probably really,
Yes.
the other magistrates and commissioners that talk to us, we're fortunate with our roads compared to what they have to.
Yeah.
Deal with. So these requests come up, I'm sure, more with them than here, but yeah, it should be known. I will say again, specifically take my realtor hat off, but because I wasn't one when I bought that particular property, but I knew then that it wasn't, but and I bought it from the individual, so I didn't even go through real estate whenever I bought that land, but it was in the deed that here's what. There was a plan within that. Just know that when you buy this, you're buying something on a gravel road or a road that's not a county road, and eventually you're gonna have to pony up if everybody else agrees to it, so. But I realize that the majority are not like that, unfortunately.
Any other discussion? So there's a motion and a second to bring Crooked Oak Loop into the county maintenance program. Is that, we've discussed maintain only at 55,000 and resolution, to bring it up to the resolution at 124,000. I would say, Commissioner Lamb, if you would amend your motion to reflect bringing it to the county resolution of 124,000.
Amend my motion to bring it into the 124,000.
Okay, I'll second that. So that would be the motion. Any discussion on that? Any further discussion? Okay. Then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion ties, and motion dies. Item D, E911 employee pay scale. I think this pay scale represents, roughly 60,000 as it stands, 60,000, just under $300. If you go back to when we actually put a budget in place and approved that budget associated with the fee, we did make motion that it would not go into effect. However, the pre-planning, forward-thinking, knowing how the industry, if you will, in this profession was going to change, it's actually happened. Our surrounding communities have increased their rate of pay. In a situation that we're in is that we're training dispatchers, and then they turn and go to other dispatch centers for pay. Pay is a driving factor here. So we get them trained, we certify them, and then they go to another agency that's paying more money. We lost one that was had 20 plus years of experience to adjacent county, I think for a rate of pay of $20 or more. So with the attrition rate, I think it's important that we look at and we put this together to show where the current employees are. And if you remember during the budget workshop, this was presented to the court. There is a issue with our current admin code as far as the staffing level. for the employees, to put the employees in the proper staffing level that they should be in. This is extra 25 cents for years of service, and raise is based on 40 cents per certification. But I think we need to discuss this. Is there a motion to discuss the E911 employee pay scale that's being presented?
Just for discussion purposes?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, I'll move that we discuss this.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. So, for discussion, Rachel or Christie, I want to go a little bit more in detail, if you need to, as far as the current trends. I know she's camera shy. As far as current trends, what the profession here in the county is dealing with.
I put together a little spreadsheet and sent it out with each, excuse me, each employee's current rate of pay and current staff level. And our admin code says 2 or more certifications, you become a certain staff level. So currently, we're not paying our employees at the staff level that they should be. So they're not even based upon the certifications that they have, just the ones they're required by law to have. They're not at the rate of pay and the staff level they should be. So I know that other departments pay certain premium rates for certain certifications and things like that, so we have several. There's one particular employee that has, I believe, 8 certifications and doesn't have anything for that. She does a lot of extra work, doesn't get compensation for that. So I put it together based upon 40 cents per certification. Some other departments get $1 per certification. I thought with having so many that going with a lower rate would be fair. If what you see is not to your liking, we can discuss that, drop that down, amend what we put here together. This was just something that I thought was fair to raise that pay and get that to where these folks will stay. And then we had one with another year's service to our department that wound up having the same rate of pay as someone who'd hired on within the past year. So that's where the extra quarter come in for that one particular person, to even that out, but to reward the years of service. So that's kind of what you're looking at in that spreadsheet.
Is there any questions?
Well, other than just clarification, required by law, I don't think is the correct. You don't mean it's legal that we're required to pay them?
No, I'm talking about some of the certifications I get. Chapter 15 requires us to have a 4-week DOCJT certification. The FBI requires us to have an NCIC certification.
That's required by
Right.
law. To be compensating
No.
for it is at the court's discretion, is what we're saying. Okay.
I think it's also kind of ties into what we just previously talked about, setting a precedence with the residents or communities that were in the same boat. And here, the court has set a precedence as where the court has given a pay raise to employees with no certifications or no justification. And the biggest issue here outside of that is really that we're losing employees to other agencies that are paying higher. We've heard these discussions in front of us before. Obviously our goal is to retain employees as much as possible, and pay is probably one of the most ways that we can retain employees. If you look at the budget that we approved although we put it on hold until we get through a lawsuit, that basic rate of pay was $17 an hour. If you look at the current salary, there's only 3 that it looks like that are above 17, but the majority of them are under 15.
I agree with you, but I think the difference there again, because we just talked about this as well as a subsidy. And so that is the big difference in that one and this one.
Well, this has a subsidy.
That one, yes, this one does.
This one,
That one doesn't.
when you're saying that one.
The one that was approved 2 years ago based on the fee being in place would also do away with the subsidy. That
Yes.
fee would not only increase that, but do away with the subsidy. This would not. This would only increase the
Yes,
subsidy.
this would increase the subsidy. Because the occupational tax is the only monies that we have.
I'm just saying,
But in this situation, we're losing employees, and the cost to get them certified is a cost that you're losing experience, and it's the competitive rate of pay. Yes, yes.
So right now, we're actually at the potential of losing 2 employees within the next month, mainly due to pay. We're getting ready to be at a critical staffing level, and it also costs more for our department to actually train people than it does to actually keep people, because then you have to pay overtime, you go into all the trainings and everything else. So if we were to keep our people and retain our people, I think it'd be better in the long run than
Yeah.
to keep hiring people, train them, and then the majority of them don't work out. So we're wasting time, and we're also wasting money.
She brings up a good point. When they train, they have to pay the overtime, and
Not only to train, but also to cover the shifts for the people that we've lost.
yes.
Is there people that were being used to fill in on a temporary basis that aren't being utilized anymore?
Yeah, we don't have anybody really anymore. We do have 2 part-timers. One of them, they both actually have full-time jobs. One of them was the one that Judge was talking about that we lost to another county. Another one is from Carlisle? Carlisle, so he can only come whenever, he can, when he's not working his other job. So it's very rare that our part-timers can actually come in.
that's a program that we discussed 6-8 months ago.
Yes, and we've actually asked, during our hiring process, we've been telling people, we'll even do part-time, and most people just don't want to do that, especially for the rate of pay that they're getting.
I know our jails had 4 resign also, and they're sitting there with 4 openings.
Right, yeah, and their pay is about equal with ours, so that could be potentially part of the problem.
That's actually about $1 an hour less.
Any further discussion on this? Any discussion on a percent or any type of increase? for these employees?
I mean, I do understand that. I promise you. And all of our departments, I think, came to us at budget time with this same different pay scales for employees. And we obviously had lengthy discussions throughout those budget workshops and decided based on where we are and on this budget to do what we did. And at this point, I'm comfortable with that.
Is there a staffing level that's required?
By the
Is-
admin code, if you have two, I can't remember the actual staffing level, but if you had two or more certifications according to the admin code, then it requires you to do that.
And I mean, this is definitely good for discussion because we've got an admin code that states how we manage, because we know payroll is, a lot of people don't know, but we bring in 16.5 million annually, and payroll is over $11 million. It's just expensive to have to run operations. But from the management perspective, we set an admin code in place that we would go off of, and we have set a precedence. We've increased employees with no certifications, and we've had those discussions in court as far as employees being paid a fair rate of pay. And we're seeing a trend where we're losing people in this profession, going to other agencies with a higher rate of pay. So as we're below, this is an easy administrative decision, in my opinion, that our admin code states a certain level. We've identified employees that are below that level. To me, it's an administrative decision to bring that up to the level of rate of pay that our admin code suggests that they should be at. I think we're missing that discussion.
I thought that there were a few within this that we brought up to the minimum admin, that the admin code said. Correct?
You're looking at me, so
I
I
am
think you're
looking
talking
at
to me.
you.
You talking about
Yes.
the budget workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think,
I believe that at the beginning of the discussion there were, but by the time that we got to the point where we agreed to bring them up, the people who were below had already left the department. In
Oh.
this case, and for
Okay.
this department.
So let me just make clear here, what you are not saying that they are below the minimum. What you are saying is that you believe based on the admin code that they should receive the, the word is gone, but the 40 cents per.
yeah,
Whatever
just,
that says.
if you look at a precedence that we've set, which is not binding,
Certification.
but precedents that we've set, we've got several. We've got a $1 increase for certifications. We've got no certification and an increase, I believe $1 or even more. So here you have an issue of us trying to retain employees. And I think a 40 cent per certification, obviously that's less per certification that we've approved in the past. And I'm all ears on trying to identify a rate of pay that we can, one, be competitive, and two, as Sheila just reported, keep employees. Because it's going to cost us more, continuing doing what we're doing. Obviously, the preferred staffing is to have all of our employees certified and working to where we're not paying overtime. That's the obvious goal, but
And Monty, I want to address what you're saying, because I still don't think you got the answer that you're looking for. I see where you're coming from. I've got a list of certifications on here and the 40 cents for them, and the staffing levels over here that they currently are, okay? In the admin code, to get from staff 1 to staff 2 to staff 3 to staff 4, certifications are part of that. So if you have 2 or more, you increase to the next level. And that's per the admin code. A lot of my folks are still at staff 1 or are assigned no staffing level, and that's what I'm saying. We at least need to get them to the point where they're in line with our admin code, what our county ordinance says.
So then that being said, you take, for instance, one that moved from a staff 1 to a staff 4, though, that is based on 5 certifications at 40 cents, not what a staff 4 base level pay is, correct?
Right, there's a range in between, and it falls
Okay.
in that range, but currently, none of them meet the pay range for the staff that they should be.
So all of those, I guess my question then is, do all of those staffing level suggestions are at least at the minimum pay scale of that
Yes.
department? Okay.
They're actually all below mid, aren't they?
They're all,
The-
and I
the
think
ones
they're
with
even
the-
below the lowest.
I thought they were at least, not the current ones, but what we did with the certification.
Oh, yes, with the
They're all
certifications,
within,
they'll all.
right at the threshold.
Yeah, I'm not saying at the
So they
current.
fall in the range.
The current pay isn't even to the lowest part of the admin code. So it's not even following the
Well,
admin code.
it's not, but still, that is based on those certifications.
Right.
not-
They currently have.
Right. Yes, I get what you're saying.
And, the other thing I will say, if, this is just a suggestion, if there's something that, if you all have a suggestion, different number per certification, certifications you would consider, certifications you wouldn't, I just put something together to get a starting point here. I mean, it's not set in stone, there's nothing that says it's 40 cents, there's nothing that says it's $1, that's kind of what the judge was saying, we just kind of done whatever we've done in the past. But, our folks get a lot of training, they're required to have a lot of training. Some of that stuff they have to keep up and recertify on, and those are the ones that we gave merit to, what they have to actually do, continuing education on to keep up with the standard. It's not they took an 8-hour in-service, so let's give them a 40-cent raise for that. It's something that they have to keep up to maintain the certification. So it's not just a training class. They got that academy class, they have to do an 8-hour in-service every year to keep that certification. They have to recertify for NCIC. For EMD, they have to recertify for the fire dispatch, for law enforcement dispatch, for all of that stuff, they have to recertify. And then some of the other stuff requires extra duties. You got the certified training officer, they have to get a certification for that. Then they have to learn and understand the training program. Then they also have to train those particular individuals. So there's a lot of paperwork that comes along with that, and filling out daily observation reports, and performance evaluations during the training period. You have assistant TAC and TAC, terminal agency coordinated procedures. That person is responsible for all of the paperwork and keeping that agency going as far as CGIS is concerned, or NCIC. And they have an assistant that helps them with a lot of paperwork for a lot of agencies that we deal with, so that's a lot of extra work on top of that.
We're also looking that if this were to get approved sooner rather than later, potentially keeping one of the people that we're losing. Because that was the main reason for leaving.
One is going back to the medical field, she's just not sure that she
Right.
likes the field she's in.
But the other one, we do have, if we do get a pay increase, we have the potential to actually keep her to where we wouldn't have to fill 2 openings now.
My recommendation is that we give a increase, set an example, one, to retain employees in this profession. The other communities that have increased their rate of pay, it's very tempting, and we've already had people leave to those agencies. That's my recommendation from a management perspective. Is there any recommendation of a dollar amount or?
I mean, honestly, I mean, I appreciate the work that went in to this, and, you know, I believe uploaded this morning so that we could see it, but that's it. We've had the discussion within here, and I understand all points, but I'm also not comfortable to make the final decision on this today. So that's just my 2 cents worth. I mean, it's just.
Need more information?
Well, yeah, I need to consider all this. I know you
We
want it all.
No,
Yes.
we can, if you need time to consider.
I mean, again, my point is I don't know that we had this particular exact discussion. Don't get me wrong. I know it was not that. We were not, that I'm aware of. I don't believe this is the Excel, this is not a spreadsheet that we were given at budget workshop. I know
I
you.
prepared this and submitted it to the judge last week, but we
Okay.
did talk about the staffing levels and the fact that our
We
folks
did.
are not.
Well,
Totally agree. I'm
the
not.
spreadsheet then had employees who are, as Rachel said, are gone now.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
when we discussed, I mean, those employees.
But my point is, though, that we were not discussing this increase based on a per cert pay scale or anything like that.
We did, but we didn't put a number to it.
Well,
Okay.
Okay, so let's, and this is what I'm trying to get out of the discussion. When we look at the admin code, that is an option as far as certification. If we just want to give a pay rate increase, to me, there needs to be an increase to retain these employees in this profession. One of the ways that we can do that by our admin code is by certifications. Now, if you want to take the certifications out of discussion, then we've also set a precedence where we just gave a pay raise increase to employees without certifications. At the end of the day, we as a government body need to understand one thing. There are actually 2 things. One, we're losing people because of pay in surrounding areas. 2, we have the ability to put something in place to try to retain them. I mean, to me, that's as simple as it is. We can't control an employee, that chooses to go to another agency, but we can set a rate of pay to say, hey, we think you're worthy enough to stay because of the certifications that you have. And this particular situation as stated, I mean, under Chapter 15, there are certain by law required certifications, and then there's certifications to help the agency be better at providing that service. But the amount of time to train an employee, it costs money. And we can continue, we do have a subsidy on this department. We can continue with that subsidy. It's just going to continue to go up. To not do anything, I think is potentially going to put us in a situation where we're going to be spending more money to cover, we're going to burn out. You got employees that are trying, but they're burnt out, the amount of overtime that they're spending. And this is somewhere where we can step in and try to help with this agency. But this is the best that, we put this on the table as far as our past, what our policy states to govern, why, if we do make a decision, why we're doing it. But if there's other options, if there's none, I mean, that is an option, but
I move we table it to allow the commissioners a little bit more time to think about it. As Squire Collins suggested.
for discussion, yeah. So the motion for discussion, did you make that or did I?
I did.
Yeah. If you pull that motion off, then I think Commissioner Lamb, you can make your motion.
I'll rescind my motion.
Okay.
I move we table it to give commissioners more time to think about this issue.
And table it till next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. If y'all need any information, reach out to them. You go down and talk to the employees. I mean, hear it from the employees. Item E, transfers.
I only have bank transfers of occupational tax subsidies, so this is budgeted transfers. So I have OTA to the general fund of $200,000, OTA to the road fund of $50,000, OTA to the jail fund of $30,000, OTA to the sheriff fund, which lives in the general fund, of $30,000, for a total of $310,000.
Move we approve bank transfers.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item F, bills and claims. Is there any reason to deny payment of the bills or claims? Hearing none, have the fiscal court clerk record bills and claims to be paid. Need to go into executive session for
Before
litigation.
we go, Judge, Jason, I may need your help on the proper procedure of getting this on the agenda, but the utilities at the senior citizens building need to be put back on, the water, gas, and electricity, because we have that as a polling place at the first of next month. And so it's my understanding, according to the county clerk, the utilities already been turned off, but we need to get those turned back on, or we're gonna have a problem at the first of the month.
Yeah.
Folks gonna vote.
We don't need a motion. We can have
Okay.
that turned on.
Okay, appreciate it, Judge.
I move we go into executive session.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We just need a motion to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.